And in order to get the research, there are a lot of different possibilities. If you don't have the funding available for you guys, there's also federal agencies and possibly state agencies that have research on hand or have the capabilities to do the research more quickly and easily because they have databases or what have you. The Government Accountability Office also releases reports regularly on federal agencies, on issues of national importance. So they might have reports on that, and also members can request reports. So if you do get a member really interested in these issues, that member could request a specific report. And it's also, I think, really important for students or to have examples of students who would benefit from this action, because senators and representatives use that a lot to convince other members of Congress or to explain their stance and give it the human feel. And that's also really important for the Illinois legislature. I also think the documentary, the summary of it is important, and documentaries have been shown to be really effective, like the Waiting for Superman, which I'm sure most of you have seen. That has received a lot of press and has brought more focus to the issue. And even Senator Durbin got really involved with the issue of child sex trafficking after watching a documentary on it at a friend's house. So just little things like that can get someone really interested in the issue, and they can push for the reforms that you guys need. Also, briefings are a great way to do it. You can have briefings in DC, you can have briefings in Springfield, and you can get a room. And I know that in DC you can get a room, you can ask a member to reserve a room for you, and then you can invite staff and you can explain to them what's going on and all of the issues, and that can be a good way as well. So that is my introduction. I'm sure you guys will ask more questions later, but thank you again for having me.
Hi, my name is Benjamin Brockschmidt. I'm fortunate and very proud to work for Congressman Tim Johnson. He's the 15th District of Illinois, which for those of you who aren't familiar are currently in. And we're very fortunate in that, I'm just making sure I know there's a few people from out of state. We're very fortunate in that we have three large universities, the University of Illinois, Illinois State, and Eastern Illinois University in our district, along with numerous junior colleges and a few private universities as well. We are one of the most higher education focused districts you'll find in the country. And I'm very happy to see a number of faces that I know have come by our Washington, D.C. office. So here's my trip out to you guys. And one of the things that I really want to touch on, that the video and that the report, I think, did a very good job focusing on, was that you need all three areas to work together toward this. The federal government, your universities, and the private sector as well. The federal government, while there are a number of programs, a number of grants that we do have to help graduate education programs, to help graduate education students, one of which the Compete Act, which got through the House, and now we're waiting on the Senate. I'm very proud to say Congressman Johnson was one of 17 Republicans who voted in favor of that bill. We recognize the importance of especially STEM education and keeping our country competitive. But programs like that can only go so far. There has to be that incentive for people to go out and not just get these degrees, but really use them. And for us, when it comes down to things such as loan forgiveness programs, repayment programs, we want to make sure that anything that we do is there to help these students move forward. We don't want them to be the crutch that they're always leaning on to help them, take that next step. If anything, we should be able to give them the springboard they need to go on and be successful in whatever career that they've chosen with their graduate degree. There is, and tying into that is that the reality that there is a finite amount of money that both federal and state governments have to fund these programs. Especially now, we're all unfortunately very familiar with the impact of the recession, especially the impact it's had on higher education. I know the state of Illinois has cut funds drastically for the universities. I know that sometimes the programs that get hit the hardest, that get hit first, are the ones that a lot of times have the most promise. And unfortunately, a lot of times that ends up being the graduate programs, especially with a lot of the focus lately being on undergraduate retention and undergraduate focus, which really is, I think, one of the most important things that shouldn't be lost in this discussion at all, is that you need those undergraduates to come forward. If you have that diverse group of students coming forward from not just the suburban high schools, but the rural high schools, the inner city high schools, all of those different backgrounds coming together, all of those students kind of working with each other throughout the process. And now you get that discussion going in the lower levels. Hey, what do you want to do with this? Well, let's see what kind of master's degrees do we have? What kind of focus do we have there? I know anybody who's been to DC or students who have gone to DC know that there's a ton of internship opportunities out there. And I've had a number of students who have now gone on to get their master's in public policy after being in Washington, D.C. and having the experience and being able to see, what they could do in that field. There's so much more to being in policy than just advising a member of Congress or advising a senator. There's trade associations, there's universities, you name the group. They're going to need people who understand that and not just have the on-the-ground experience, but have the technical experience as well to come forward and say, this has moved on to this committee or this group. This is how we need to approach this from this point forward. And what the federal government, in terms of advancing those programs and giving those incentives to different groups to come forward and say, we want to have your best and brightest. We want to have your undergraduate students now so we can get them this experience, open their eyes to this world, and hopefully they'll go on and get that master's degree and get that next step and be able to come back, work for us, and help keep us moving down that path. One of the very interesting things in this report was the rise of the international stage in terms of graduate education. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I spoke with a business owner up in the Chicago area. He and his family immigrated from India. Him and his business partners own a plastics molding company. And they were told by some of their customers that if they moved their operations to Mexico or the Philippines or some other country, that they could make so much more money. And the owner's response to them, and this is what he told me, was, why would I go someplace that doesn't have the innovation, that doesn't have the technical know-how, that doesn't have the drive that we have here in America? And his big thing with his company is being able to take that innovation, take that next step. It's not always about cutting the costs. It's about, again, making sure that you have the best and the brightest going through. There are a number of other, kind of nuances that fall into this. On the federal level and on the state level, one of the things that I know my boss, Tim, absolutely hates seeing is when education is used as a political football. There are a lot of programs and a lot of different areas that education policy especially is used to move something controversial forward. It's tacked on at the last minute. It's put on something that has no involvement in education whatsoever, whether that's an agriculture bill, a defense bill. The possibilities are unfortunately endless. Education is one of those things that shouldn't be partisan. It should be one of the most bipartisan, if not the most bipartisan thing that you can come forward on. All of us are where we are because we were fortunate enough to have that good education to be able to put us in the right position to take that next step. And when it comes time to sit down at the table, either in Washington, D.C. or in Springfield or in any other state capital, that's a discussion that should be able to say, hey, what is best, not for these other things, but what is best for education to make sure that our children, our grandchildren, that our companies, that our governments have the best and the brightest moving forward. And as my colleague from the Senate said, I'm sure you'll have a number of questions afterwards, but hopefully that will suffice for an intro for now.